Cooking food, especially when you're doing so for family and friends, is one of the most wonderful things you can do as a human. You are literally nourishing another person. Well, until you're not. A meal can quickly go from memorable for all the right reasons to all the wrong ones if that meal makes you sick. For professional chefs, this is always top of mind. In fact, when I went to culinary school, the first required class had nothing to do with knife skills or making the perfect steak or sauce, but in fact was all about food safety. We had to know this book all about the ins and outs of how to cook properly and how to cook safely. Now, I know the topic of foodborne illnesses isn't always that titillating, but I cannot stress how important this is. Whether you are cooking for yourself on a weekday night or for a family of 20 for a special occasion to kick off summer or perhaps for the holidays. Today, I'm going to boil down 5 of the most important principles of food safety so that the only after effects of the food you cook are satisfied taste buds and happy memories. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook. And as I said in that intro, one of the absolute most important things of being a good cook is being a safe cook. If you have ever gotten ill after eating a meal, whether that's at home or at a restaurant, you know that, well, food poisoning is a real thing. It's just absolutely terrible, and well, if you've ever had it, I don't need to tell you how bad it is. Thankfully though, with a little bit of planning and forethought and some great habits in the kitchen, you can minimize the risk of getting anybody sick that you cook for, including yourself. So let's dive into 5 of the most important things that you need to know about safe cooking. Now, the first thing to know is, well, it even begins before the cooking. It begins with the ingredients. And you've just got to check the quality and freshness of the ingredients you're cooking with, regardless of whether that is at home or at the store. Yes, I know we think when we walk into a supermarket, everything is fresh and perfect, but well, that just isn't always the case. Supermarkets stock tens of thousands of items, and sadly, some of those might be expired or nearing expired, or just are not at their best quality. This is especially important with things like meat, dairy products, and fruits and vegetables. You really just want to check everything you buy. For example, check the expiration date of dairy products and be sure to check the best used by date in fresh foods like meats, poultries, and fish. Don't be afraid to give things a sniff test as well. If it's something like fruits or vegetables, you want to examine it at the store. Make sure there's no mold on it. Notoriously, when I buy cartons of berries, I always check the bottom because some of those things actually have mold on them. Have you ever experienced it? It's so frustrating when you bring those home and you open the container only to find some moldy berries. So be sure to check all those things, and if you've already got the food at home, before you begin cooking, do the same. Give it a sniff test, check the expiration date. Just make sure that all of those foods that you are planning to cook with are at their top quality. I know none of us like to throw out food because, well, that's money down the drain, but trust me, it's better to just toss it than to get sick from what you cook with it. Okay, number 2 begins with a pop quiz. Which is the more important tool in the kitchen? The chef's knife or one of these? You know where this is going. This is the correct answer. This is a food thermometer. And yes, I've said it before and I'll say it again. A food thermometer is one of the most, if not the most important tools in the kitchen. That's why you always see a chef with a food thermometer. These are, of course, used to measure the temperature of the foods we cook, especially meat and poultry products. Foods such as meat, poultry, and fish must be cooked to a proper temperature. And the whole reason why is because when you cook those foods, well, it kills the bad microorganisms, all those things that can make you sick. Now, the USDA has some really easy guidelines on safe food temperatures for meat, poultry, etc., and I'll put a link to their site below. But having a food thermometer will enable you to know when the food is at its proper temperature. And beyond just the food safety aspect of it, undercooked meats, well, they can just not be very good to eat. In fact, they can be quite terrible. I remember once we had Thanksgiving catered at the company I worked at, and this was catered from a professional restaurant, and yet the turkey was undercooked. I mean, it was like still raw, and it was absolutely terrible. And I remember some people actually got sick after eating that. So I cannot stress enough the importance of making sure the foods you cook are at their proper temperatures. So whether that's a barbecue or something you have in the oven, you just want to make sure all those meats, poultries, and fish are cooked to the proper temperature, and well, a thermometer, a good one, is going to enable that. And when I say a good one, I recommend like a good digital thermometer. You probably see those analog ones in the store. They're kind of cheap and they're called instant read, but in my experience, they're anything but. Just spend a little more money, get a good quality digital thermometer, instant read, and it's going to make your cooking experience a whole lot better, and quite potentially for the people you're cooking for. You may have heard the saying, keep hot foods hot and cold foods cold. And well, that's all about number 3 on this list. This is the danger zone. And when we talk about the danger zone in food preparation, that is the temperature between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Between those zones, in that gap, that's when microorganisms, all those bad things that cause food illness, that's when they can proliferate. So the idea is to keep foods out of those temperatures as much as possible. You want to keep foods that should be cold below 40 degrees Fahrenheit and cooked hot foods above 140 degrees Fahrenheit. That's why in restaurants and professionally catered events, well, maybe except that one that I just relayed to you, you see hot foods kept in chafing dishes and cold foods kept on ice. It's all about keeping those foods out of the danger zone. Now at home, you never want to leave food like sitting on the counter for more than 2 hours. And this is even more important in the hot summer months and when things are warm. If it's over 90 degrees, such as an outside event, you don't want to leave those foods out for more than an hour. If you do so, again, all those nasty little bugs, they can proliferate and they can cause foodborne illness. And well, that is no picnic. Okay, number 4 is all about cross-contamination and preventing it. Now, since you're watching this video on this channel, you probably know, well, after cutting up a chicken, for example, you want to wash your cutting board, wash your knife, wash your hands, etc. But I just can't stress this enough. You've got to keep things clean. And there's other things that we sometimes don't even think about. Like, let's say you marinated some meat in sauce. Well, once that meat is being cooked, toss that sauce. Don't even leave that dish out, because somebody may not know. They might think, oh, hey, there's some sauce. Let me dip something in it, or just, eat it. No, that's bad. That is the type of thing that can easily lead to foodborne illness, can easily lead to a really bad night. And this is also a good reminder about mise en place. I made a whole video about mise en place very early on in this channel, and that is just about having everything in order, everything in its place before you begin cooking, kind of having a plan. So once you have everything set out, not just the food, but the pots and pans you're going to cook with, the utensils, cutting boards, everything. Once you have everything in place, you can just focus on the cooking and preparing the meal. You're not running to the fridge or worse, running to the store because you forgot something. And the fifth thing we need to talk about is keeping food safe while you're eating it. And this is especially important for outdoor events. So let's say you're having a picnic maybe, and you're having fun and the food is just kind of sitting there and you're not thinking about it. Well, you should be. You want to make sure the food is protected. So that means lids are on containers. Again, the food is being kept hot or cold depending on what it is. You want it to be protected. This is where something like insect netting can come in handy, and if you don't have that, you can even improvise. So for example, here's a fine mesh colander. You could use something like this to just set it over the food if need be to prevent insects from getting on it. But that is a very important thing, especially in the summer months. You want to protect that food from the elements so that everybody is safe. And finally, I'm going to throw in a bonus tip. Please have one of these in your kitchen. This could be one of the most important tools, and it's one thing that you never really think about, well, until you really need it. So make sure you have a fire extinguisher somewhere in your kitchen that is approved for kitchens, approved for cooking. Again, this could be one of the most important things you'll ever have, and well, maybe it's not there. So just a friendly reminder to keep a fire extinguisher in your kitchen or wherever you are cooking, including outdoors if that's at a barbecue. Okay, I know food safety isn't the most titillating conversation, but one that's so important to have. So I hope this helps you. And if there's any tips that you have on keeping food safe, cooking safely, and keeping your guests safe, well, I would love to hear those in the comments below. Okay, trivia time. Last week I asked you to identify this object, and I actually didn't know it, but so many of you did. So this is apparently a corn cutter. You use this on cobs of corn to apparently get the kernels off. I haven't bought any corn lately, but next time I do, I'm definitely going to give it a try. And thank you to everybody who answered. I love it when you can just give me some knowledge of, well, things that really perplexed me. Okay, for this week's culinary trivia, boy, we have some really interesting things. Now, I do know what these are. Do you? If you know what these are, or you have a guess, put it in the comments below, and I will, of course, let you know the correct answer in the next video. Hey, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Until next time, I hope you want to cook.